Audio check. Audio check. I'm just selling some of that GFAI. It's been a good run. I don't want to be in a lot of stuff right now. Hello. Hey everybody. Happy Thursday. Sorry, I'm a little preoccupied here at the moment. It's just a lot of stuff that I have that's not going up. Look at this market. Just marching up its 10 SMA perfectly, textbook. But my positions are not doing that. They're going down. And that is a real concerning sign to me as I sign on here to kind of talk about what I'm thinking about the market. And of course, this is the support session. So everybody is encouraged, if you're here for support, to chime in and let me help you with support. But currently, I've got a few stops in things, and my trading is only closing positions only. I'm just not feeling comfortable about how this market just continues to grind higher, but you've got to be in the right selective stuff. And I've been around long enough to know that you can wipe out, a good 3 weeks worth of trades in one day. And I don't want to be here for that. So maybe I leave some profits on the table. Maybe I don't. My 401k account that I trade religiously is at all-time highs, and I'm kind of in protection mode. This feels to me like I wanted to say, it feels to me, yeah, exactly. Same thing. I look down at my profit and loss today, and I'm like, where is all this red coming from? You got the IWM, the SPYs, the NASDAQ, but it's only a select few. And I'm even trying, some of my robotic plays and drone plays. UMAC is the only thing I have that's really working well. And God, I hope it just continues to work, because other things I have are just not working well. And like I said, I've got some stops in, I'm raising cash, and I'm doing closing positions only. I just don't like the way things are shaping up. I don't want to go into the weekend with a lot of risk. Good morning, everybody. Yep. Hello, everybody in chat. No positions traded Apple for. Apple trade of the week. It's one of the few things that are doing well. Some of the big guys, Amazons, are doing okay. The Google was just a mess after earnings, just gaps up for no reason. This bull, I'll tell you what, guys, this bull is Webull. I'm kind of eyeballing it for maybe a trade of the week. It's got to pull back, though. Maybe a good pullback tomorrow, and we could have like a nice entry down at this level here in Webull. Nano nukes are strong, and I wish that I had allocated what I had on the open and thought about SMR. SMR seems to be the strongest in terms of, I don't know, short float. But Patrick's alluding to, actually, there's a headline that came out. Trump said he wants America to be the AI leader. There's a 3-point plan for America to be the leader of AI. And that is just good news to AI plants and builders and investment. And they're going to need power. I think I'm already starting to see some headlines about power is being, allocated, and they're going to have some issues going forward with all this new investment that Trump's getting in our country and the AI centers that are being committed. They can't just tap into the grid. So it's really the play is on these SMR, OKLO, and NNE. These are all the modular nano nuke stocks that they can drop in on site. I just got stopped out of CRNC. No problem. I'll take it. I'm just done. Can I check HIMS? Oh, looking to buy some UAVS. Well, boy, this one is nutty. It's up a lot. The reason I'm in UMAC, I like the drone play, but you see the consolidation that's kind of along a trend line there, and it seems like it's got some room to run. Whereas UAVS is, once the volatility kicks in like that, you have to respect it. And anybody that bought the gap up certainly can tell you that. But my point is, it consolidated and broke out down here around $1.70, and it has more than doubled in a few days. And when things do that, they tend to get a little sloppy and difficult to contain because the volatility gets to be a bit much. So you see this blue line I've got drawn there. I might be more interested in a few days, next week, maybe, if some things happen and we get some moving averages and things kind of converge down here. I might be more interested in UAVS then. Can I check HIMS? HIMS. So a lot of charts kind of look like this today. We had a big day yesterday and a pause day today. Ideally, if you're going to have a narrow range day today, you need tomorrow to break out of today's range quickly to do what we call a go, pause, go. It's a chart pattern where you get a big push. And then day two is everybody kind of looking at each other, what's going to happen. And then day three, it resolves itself. If it goes higher, you want to participate in that, but there's no guarantee it will. I would love for Trade Ideas to have a dark theme for the entire site instead of just charts. Yeah, I understand. I hear you, Tom. As you see, I don't use the dark charts anyway, but we're relegated in the old Windows environment here, as you can see, to the certain limitations, and not everything has a dark theme opportunity for it. It will very soon. We're migrating all of our technology behind the scenes on the back end to the web dashboard. Somebody's starting to see, this is what drives me nuts. You get the first big red tick here, and all the stuff that wasn't doing well on the way up just really vomits on the way down, or just on a pullback, I should say. That's why I've been trying to just get out of stuff. Andy and I kept telling each other the last couple of days, there's been a lot of warning shots, a lot of shots across the bow. And what we mean by that is like what we were just talking about. And these positions just don't hold up, even though the indexes are holding up. What's going on under the currents? And it's just a lot of mess. If anybody in this chat room is successfully set up their stuff, if you want, please message me. I would appreciate it. Well, there's a certain balance between having the right setup, the right scans, and then also, there's no excuse and no substitute for market knowledge, and that comes from experience. And ideally, you want to make your mistakes as a new trader as cheap as possible, if not simulate, before you kind of create a method. Andy and I are similar, but we're very dissimilar in the stocks that we choose to play. He does a lot of Chinese stocks, and I do a lot of small cap IWM stuff. But we're both successful in our own right, and Barry is successful in his 5-minute chart world of day trading in his live room. So the first thing you want to do as a new trader is kind of pick your time frame and then kind of work backwards from there. I don't necessarily have a scan that I pull up that just tells me to go and buy things, but I have a list of ideas every day. If I want to go shopping, I can come over here and look at my list of things that have giant short floats. And I'll go through the entire list and look at some charts. That's kind of interesting, but it's low float. So I'll find ideas when I'm interested. Most of my ideas come from my watch list. Most of these stocks that I trade around. I'm always in or out at least, one of these things during the week. So I kind of know the names that I like to play. Hang on a second. But again, my trading philosophy is tomorrow's Friday. It's summer. It's just been a slow grind up, and I can't get the stuff the IWM, well, this is probably one of the reasons I'm suffering today is because the IWM, the small caps are just going sideways. Nice kind of a breakout yesterday, and I had some positive hope for today, but it's just kind of a day of rest, it seems like, in the small caps. Let's see, look at a couple charts here. Okay, SED. That's not a chart. QS. That's a really nice looking daily flag that's developing. QuantumScape, huh? Got the Q word in there. Energy storage solutions. Okay, interesting. So again, energy storage. BE is another one. Back to the theme today of the announcement of the AI investment. Well, that means a lot of infrastructure building as well. And BE is another energy company. So that's probably the right sector there, that QS. I'm going to add that. I'm going to click the heart button, and all that does is it sends it to my my liked list, and I can keep an eye on that one. Or big gap down on that one. Whatever the news is, it might take a few more days to sort itself out. So that's a tough one. Mining company. I know about my mining companies. Patrick, I'm battling HYMC, and just this one's killing me today. I don't understand. And it looks like it wants to go lower. Yeah. The market is really confounding me right now. So I'm just going to pull back. And that's something I've learned through experience. I'm not going to buy anything today. B is up too much. It's midday. And my general thesis is I don't like where the market is. I don't like the small cap stuff not participating. And I just feel like we're living on a little bit of borrowed time here in the S&P and NASDAQ. It's been a really nice run, but we can erase a couple weeks worth of that in one day with a bad headline out of the blue. And I just would rather remain in a nimble kind of a mode right now. So I'm not really in the mood to buy anything. Anything I do tomorrow might be an absolute day trade because I don't think I feel like taking a lot of risk into the weekend. Hammering that one too. SEDG. Solar Edge. Yeah. Nice breakout, but you can see how quickly a breakout can be squashed, especially in this market. So, these are the kind of things where I might look for an entry. If you believe in the stock, you got everybody that's frustrated and they're puking up the stock right about now at the breakout period. This is the contrarian mentality sometimes that I like to have. If I was looking to enter something, I might be watching this. I might even just put a price alert in like this. This is a very good habit to get into. Create a future opportunity for yourself. You see that resistance? Well, if this thing pulls back and frustrates everybody that chased the breakout, you can get yourself a nice entry in a strong uptrending stock by not being, I'm talking to every new trader in the room right now, by not being the person that buys that candle right there. You're a day and a half late. But what you can do is keep it on your radar and watch it, and then give yourself this blue line, give yourself a future opportunity. And you might be surprised when you start to do these types of entries, how quickly you can get in the money and how short of time you kind of sit through any pain that you don't need to, as opposed to chasing a stock after 3 days of green, only to watch it just fall out of, just rug pull on you. We've all been there. Yeah, the UAVS, anything that gets that volatile, you've got to play small shares and respect the volatility because all bets are kind of off. Just seeing a lot of these names I'm in just degrading throughout the day. This one is probably close to stopping out. Just can't get any follow through in anything. Silver. Well, I'm very bullish on silver. Extremely bullish on silver, and I hope that the banks are suffering tremendous losses right now because they've been playing manipulative games with the silver market for years by shorting paper. Some estimates are that there's actually 300 ounces of paper short for every 1 ounce of physical that exists that could be shorted. So Any news on the money machine? We're testing any of these trades that I've currently got right now. Where'd you go? Would be going through. I could turn on the money machine. I haven't been testing much today. Chris is doing a lot of good testing by attaching some of the scans that are very quick moving and high-low scans. And he's been working with some of the developers here to test internally. We're still probably a week or two away from external release of a simulator for people to play with. And I can't even begin to talk about when a live version would be available because there's just a lot to be done still. But it's all for the best. ENVX. A little tired. It's kind of in between the two moving averages there. I wouldn't be surprised. It's also under its 5-day for the last 2 days. It's slowly degrading here. I wouldn't be surprised to see it maybe come back and test something like that. Let's see what's going on over here. Oh, what a mess. The only thing that's green for me is this UMAC. And then it just goes downhill from there. Hertz can't get out of its own way. If Hertz could just break above 8, it's got a nice short float of 20%. It's just, this market has required so much patience. If you don't have patience, you're just going to get worn out. If the market doesn't stop you out, it'll wear you out. Here's another example of one of the names that I'm in. I showed you another stock earlier, the Go Pause Go. So we had a big up move yesterday in small caps, and it's frustrating me today that we're just doing a pause. And so I need to figure out which ones do I want to keep going into tomorrow and hope that tomorrow they can take out that range and I can take some profits going into the weekend. But I'm not getting that move. And that in itself kind of frustrates me and makes me a bit more cautious. UMAC. Are you asking how can we create a scan for something that's reversing? I mean, a lot of stuff I just look at and I see, but there are ways to create, of course, scans for things that are reversing. You could do something like, let's see, we'll make a new alert window. We'll start from scratch. No, not new high. I want 5-minute high, a 15-minute high. We're going to do my time frame. So a new 15-minute high, we're going to look for like a bar reversal. ENVX now. Well, if we look at it on a 5-minute, let's try 5-minute, because if we do a new 5-minute high, let's work backwards on this. So we'll go back to configure, turn that off. We want a new 5-minute high. This is how you work through something like this. And so that's going to be our trigger. Add that and activate it. Okay. And then now we want filters. Change from the close. We want this to be, I want change from the open. That way we get that one. Change from the open. Let's do at least one. Okay. And then, so we're up on the day, but in the last 30 minutes, we're down. So if we say like change, actually that's about 30 minutes. We'll make this a negative value. So we're kind of working backwards piece by piece. It's got to be down 0.5 at least in the last See, we can check our work, and it says down at least 0.5%. Oh, that's $1. I'm glad I checked that. We don't want that. 30-minute change percent. We are negative at least 0.5%. Could be more, could be a lot more. But we're also up from the open. Volume today, at least 150,000. Relative volume doesn't matter. Price will do $5, something like that, maybe. And then we're doing a new 5-minute high. So it's been down in the last, we can read oops, that's not what I want. Yeah, I'm glad I'm really moving too fast here. 5-minute high. 5-minute high. There it is. Okay, so now a summary tells us a 5-minute high on stocks that are at least $5, and we got some volume. The price is down 0.5%, so it's been moving down in the last 30 minutes, but it's making a new 5-minute high after a down move. And it's also up at least 1% from the close. That's our model. And is it not giving me anything? Cancel. Well, that's weird. I thought I'd get something. I will take change from the open out. Why is nothing coming through here? Symbols. New 5-minute high. Wow. That's weird. I'm really surprised nothing's coming in here. That doesn't seem right. Well, that would have worked because it's doing a 5-minute bar reversal, but why am I not getting anything here? What am I doing wrong? 5-minute high. Volume percent. Oh, I'm going way too fast here. Volume today. Shares. That'll do it. And changing, let's just change from the open. Put that back in there. 1%. Now we're going to get something. I knew something was off. Now let's see. If we go to configure, we got a lot of stuff coming through, but we can check this to see, did we get ENVX through this configuration that we worked backwards in? So we go to filters, symbol list, single symbol, ENVX. How many times has ENVX come out today? It didn't come out. All right, let's try something else. Let's try to turn off that. Let's see. Again, with this position in the open stuff. Wrong. There it is. My God, making mistakes left and right. So ENVX has come out a few times. Look, it came out there as a reversal. We're getting somewhere here. And then, boom, the one I was just scanning for. Look at that. Now, if we turn this back on to everything, all symbols, and give it a name, 5-minute reversals, we might have something here. So anybody who wants this, you can slow this down by putting more parameters and more volume in, but this is the starting point for things that are making 5-minute reversals. There's the cloud link. So that's for you, Mr. Darga. And if we just quickly look at the last few, we'll see things that are after some red candles, we're reversing. So this is the power, you guys, of trade ideas. This has always been the power of trade ideas, is just backing into real-time chart patterns. And in this case, we're using that 5-minute. All right, I'm going to shut that off and go back to my 15-minute where my comfort zone lies. And let's check in on my one stock that's doing well today. No, nothing. Hertz, just disappointing. Okay. Everything's in a holding pattern today from the small cap stuff that I'm in. Here's a great example of why I use that 5-day moving average, that 130. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's 130 SMA on a 15-minute chart, and it gives you usually some solid support areas. If the stock wants to hold up, the buyers usually might show up at that level. So that RR Robotics, I'm very, very bullish still on robotics. Tesla earnings certainly didn't help. That's kind of a robotics company. And here's a good example of Tesla. When I've got a rule, when a stock has bad earnings and disappoints and gaps down, don't buy it the first day. You've got other people who are just getting to work and then, oh, no, and then they're selling and they're putting their stops in. And whatever low is established on day one of a bad earnings, it seems like that low is going to be tested and double tested over the day or two. So for bad earnings surprises, I've got my eye on Tesla. And what I'm going to do is probably move this down to here. And over the next few days, it might just continually squeeze out the stubborn, and then they eventually say, I can't take it anymore, and then it capitulates down to a level. And usually a 3-day rule is what I like to see. It takes about 3 days to squeeze out all the negative news. Oh, this HYMC is going to get me. That's too bad. I'm slowly just getting stopped out of things and raising cash. RUM is very disappointing. So this is 2 steps forward and 1.9 steps back lately in some of these things. So I'm just not getting the moves that I want. So I'll take my ball and go home. And as I told Andy, I just want to kind of reset. And you just go back to a full cash or mostly cash, and then just kind of reset. And if you're lucky, maybe you can catch a break and not be caught up in a downdraft sitting in cash, but you never know. It's been a good run, and I don't like the way things aren't following through unless you're in the right stuff. All right, I think I'm caught up with questions. If you guys at the bottom of the hour here, if I've missed anything, let me know. I might have to give up on this one. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm done. I'm just zero effing tolerance right now. Things don't work. Get me out. Bye-bye, Hertz. You had your chance. I'm in cash raising mode right now. Also, when you look at a chart, you just start to see constant rejections like this. That's the personality of a stock. And I'm not sticking around if it can't hold this little level right here. It's probably heading back down here, and I'm not having any of it. I want to raise cash today. And anything I do tomorrow will likely be day trades. Okay, so yeah, TXN did not have good earnings. They probably want to test 180. Again, here's an example of, as a trader looking left, finding levels that likely might want to be tested. You put yourself in their shoes, Okay, well, I'll probably put a stop down here if it breaks this level. Well, you're just creating a foregone conclusion. The stocks will usually take a trip down to those levels regardless. All right, HYMC, you got me. I do, and I sold half of it this morning. When it broke here, when it broke my 5-day, I had too much of it, and so I was saying, well, I don't want to sell it necessarily all of it, but I had too much, so I sold half. I sold 1/3. Why am I in it? Well, there's nothing about this chart that says be in it, but I just feel like they're close to some sort of big announcement. They're sitting on a pile of cash. A lot of other stocks like Rumble and DJT have been announcing crypto deals. And there's always in the back of my mind, the SEC could come out and just say, we're going to take a look at naked shorting. And in that case, DJT and GME would instantly pop up. And I just kind of want to hold that lottery ticket mentality as long as they're hanging in the area and not giving me too much hassle. So yeah, that's my thought on game. What's up, Mike C? Fabulously rich. I don't know about that. If XRP goes to 1,000, I'll be fabulously rich. Speaking of, let's talk about what's going on over there. Some people might. We had an incredible run in the ISO tokens, XRP, XLM, HBAR. Big run from 230 in XRP, my main one, up to 370. Well, sometimes you have to take a step back before you can move forward. It's like pulling, the arrow. You're holding a bow and arrow and you got nothing, but you've got to pull that bow and arrow back to create momentum to take out new highs. But in doing so, these types of moves are almost expected, and I'm glad it happened. It needed to happen because I have no intent on selling this. I'm going to hold on to these things and stake them for passive yield gain, hopefully down the road if it ever comes to that. And this was a perfect opportunity to show how you wash out the weak hands. There might be, I'm hoping there's institutions and bigger whales and bigger players that were waiting for this. This is kind of what I'm bothered by in the stock market, to be honest. I mean, I'm just thinking this type of candle can show up at any time. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just a nice, healthy reset, but they're no fun to sit through. But these giant reversals here in XLM and XRP, they're needed. We had such a big up move. We needed a pullback to wash out the weak hands and allow new, fresh blood to come in. Ethereum's been doing really well. Ethereum didn't even get the pullback that the ISO 2022 tokens got. Different animal for sure. Bitcoin just sideways. But on the XRP, I'm in this camp. And if the next two bills make it to the Senate, and most importantly, there's very strong language in those bills that come out of the Senate that says under no circumstances, loopholes, or any other ways or side means will America allow a central bank digital coin, CBDC. They have no place in the new rails of the new financial system. They need to die and go by the wayside, including the Federal Reserve itself, because Trump is setting up the External Revenue Service, bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars in external revenue where we were being ripped off before, taking the burden off funding the IRS through Internal Revenue Service and income tax, which is also going to be revamped. I own XRP. I own XLM, which is the peer-to-peer model. I own XDC, which, as I understand it, is more like the enterprise model, B2B. XRP is financial to financial, fin to fin. And then I own HBAR, which is Hedera Hashgraph. A Hashgraph is different than a blockchain, but think of this as like Napster. When it first came out, it was really cool. Everybody had Napster and was downloading audio files that weren't legit. But along came Steve Jobs and a bunch of attorneys and the iTunes store, and they made it legit. That's kind of what HBAR will do going forward to licenses and subscriptions and fees and distribution of artists and content, and making sure that everything is legit. As I understand it, this Hedera Hashgraph makes it flow very smoothly and make sure everything is legit and everybody gets paid. So those are the four that I own. I do not own ETFs. I own the tokens on a cold wallet in my safe next to the silver. There's silver. Speaking of those shakeouts, look at that big shakeout here. I think this was the last gasp of the financials that were realizing they better figure out how to cover their shorts. That's a tough one. How do you buy a gap up like BE? Well, when it gapped up so much, it was already gapped up for a lot, 15% or so. You never really know. So let me just show you the tale of two roads. Oh, good. BE's gapping up. I want to participate. I'm going to buy it on the open. It worked. Everybody's heard of Google. Oh my God, Google's gapping up on good news. I got to buy it at the open. It didn't work. But what does work is when you realize that the gap is not going to hold and it starts to come in, don't just arbitrarily try to be a hero along the way. Pretty much any time this happens, I'm looking right there. It's the 10 SMA. Once these gaps start to show their true colors that they want to fill, just be as patient as you can. Even set an alert if you can. They come right down to that 10 SMA on a 15-minute chart. And this is where they usually start to find buyers. So that's how I play gaps. What I don't do is guess. So when to make a position, I don't do it on the open. I just wait to see how they trade. And honestly, I kind of hope that they gap up and come in a lot and frustrate a lot of people that hoped for that or bought on the open and then they sell. But I'll use this 10 SMA as my guideline. And usually a gap that falls into the 10 SMA, once they touch, that's a great contrarian entry. SERV is not doing me any favors. Done with you too. Done with you. I don't have a stop in you, but I should. Raising cash as we go here. No new positions. Gave back more than I wanted to today, but that's okay. I'm just gonna draw the line. Let's see. RR, you're not doing me any favors either, and I've got a stop in you, and you're pretty darn close, aren't you? No, you're not. That's actually, I'm going to cancel that. I'm losing faith in everything. And I'm still up in this one, but I've just given back a lot of profits. But I'm going to raise some more cash as we speak. Don't like the way it's breaking the 5-day. Raising more cash. It's just as important to watch your downside and manage your risk than it is to try and let your profits run. So my spider sense is just telling me right now, again, I had like 12 positions today in a market that's doing this, and I'm red in most of my positions. That's a warning signal to me that I want to avoid something like they did to XRP. You get a really nice run like that, and sometimes you need a washout to get everybody's attention. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't mind fear of missing out. I've had a really good run. It was all-time highs coming into today anyway, but I'll give them back a tick or two. But I'm just managing the downside. Good. Now, I'm glad to hear that you said that because even after I sign off and start giving you all these examples, you start to look at it and looking at this SPY chart for one reason, it's like, my God, How much more clear does it need to be? And then, even when it breaks it, it's still trying to get back above. But right now I call this, we're under the armpit. Once it breaks and closes, whether it's a daily candle or a 15-minute candle, we're now under pressure and the currents are against us. But I'm glad to hear that you're using that 3 sharp, and you'll start to notice more and more correlation, and you'll start to realize, oh, hey, this is working out in my trade plan. My trade plan here is I'm in the money. I want to stay in this trade, but I'm going to wait, like Steve said, wait for that first red closing candle that closes below the rising 10 SMA, and that's where you take your profits. And usually that's the best spot, of the day that you get out. And the best part about that is you get out and you move on and you have mental focus and capital on something new. You're not nursing that thing all day long. What do I do? What do I do? It's the nicest definitive decision-making rule that I've given myself. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if I was long the SPY, that first candle is the first closing candle that closed in a day and a half, which is usually the time frame that a good momentum run lasts, in my opinion. And so I will, no matter what my position is, if I'm in the money and I'm looking to take profits, I'll ride it as long as I can. But the minute I see that closing candle, I quietly get up and head for the exit. All right, you want to look at a couple more charts? We can do that. PTHL, China stock. It's good if you were already in it. I wouldn't chase it here. And talk to Andy tomorrow about that one, because Andy is the China master, Kung Fu master. DNA, 4 good days of run. I'm concerned that this one's going to run out of steam. You've got a lot of people who want to take profits pent up in here, a big wick, and a lot of space between a very healthy pullback in the current price. So I'd be a little nervous up here on that one. DQ, another China stock. They're tough, man. They do a lot of gaps. Save those for Andy tomorrow. I have no opinion on the China stocks. I don't play them like he does. He's good at them. What's that last one? OUST. Now, this is different. I like this one. It's trending higher, and it's looks like robo taxi type stuff, auto driving, LiDAR type stuff. UST. I like it because it's trending higher, and it gave us 3 days of red, 3 days of pullback, and now it's just kind of playing chicken between, the 10 SMA. What it needs to do is it needs to get into kind of a pinch play here, and needs to find a way back above 28. Yeah, it's definitely one that's a pullback of a nice trending stock. Each new higher base camp, they're climbing Mount Everest and they're getting acclimated here at each new base camp. You want to be buying at the base camps. You don't want to be chasing in the thin air zone. We would do the same thing. You could do you could do something like this. We could use the new high, but we're going to qualify that. Keyword is yesterday. Position in previous day's range. We're going to add that filter, and we're going to make it 101. 100 was yesterday's high, so it's 101% above the low, meaning it's 1% above yesterday, or it's just a tick above yesterday. Fire all those in there. Okay. Now we've got new high. Now we need to add 3 down days. So we do consecutive candles daily. Consecutive candles. Well, they call that days. So we'll call that consecutive candle days. And we go -3 on that. We need to see -3 coming into today. Let's see if this gives us anything. So we're going to be looking over here on the left. Well, let's look at some more names. I should have put a couple more. I should have put a couple more things in there, like a price filter, volume today, shares. We got that. Okay. Look at that. Bam. Now I'm going to add something else. But there's our imprint, right? 4 or 5, 3 or 4 or 5 days of down candles, but a new high, but we're only seeing it above yesterday's high. Let's look at some more examples. UBSI. There you go, taking out yesterday's high. KMI, taking out yesterday's high. My idea was we're seeing some stocks in downtrends. So we can simply just say, show me stocks that are at least above the 50-day moving average. That'll just at least give us something to work with. So we add that filter and just do 0, 1. And we're above the 50-day. And this will bring in more higher quality names. All right, so I'll share that with you. I didn't give it a title, but you can tweak it and play with it and give it a title if you want. But that's how you would do that. Consecutive candles down and then a new high, but only show me the new high above yesterday. So you're getting what's called a bar reversal. Here in another 6 or 7 minutes or so. Oops. Let's see stuff going to lows still. Now, my concern was this morning, all these stocks going lower on me as the markets were going higher. And I started selling some things because once the market decides it does want to do a downtick intraday, those things get even more weak, more quickly. And I've seen this dance before. Just want to reset. Why did AUS not come in that scan? Let's take a look. Well, because we didn't take out yesterday's high. Oh, wait a minute. We did right there. Okay. Mm, mm, mm. We're above the 50. You could try. Let me try it here. It might be, for whatever reason, it might not be counting that third down on that third consecutive candle. If we change that 3 down days, consecutive candles, maybe we'd get it. Let's try that. Change it from 3 to 2. Getting a lot more English. I like Schwab, I can tell you that. Ooh, that's a pretty one. Well, a lot of good stuff in there, but the way to do it correctly is to just single symbol it and OUST. Okay. No. Here we go. Why did OSUST not come through? No, wasn't that. Let's see, OUST. No, actually, I am correct. This was yesterday, you guys. I'm sorry. So it needed to take out that, and we can see right here if we zoom in, it didn't take out yesterday's high. So I'm going in circles when it didn't even need to report. It should work the way it is there. Did I see the short squeeze on KSS the other day? Here's the short squeeze scan. It's in tree map form, and it's just nothing more than stocks that have a high short float. And we can look at it in tree map form or in grid form and sort. You can sort by short float. But I've got it in tree map form. Oops, I didn't mean to change that sort. Change from the open. I'll try that. I'll give you a copy of it here. And then I'll look at that KSS, and then I've got to run. Okay, so if KSS was on there, 49%. Yeah, wow. Interesting. I'm going to put a price alert here. It could be a day trade tomorrow for me. I'm going to put it at highs right there. Maybe even a little early warning system. Today's high. I like how it fell back into grace here, found support at the 200-day. If these 49% shorts didn't cover in the last couple of days, they might be squeezed again. So I've, again, given myself a future opportunity by putting a price alert at today's high. And if it takes off, then I'll be happy. And he's telling me the IWM is getting weak, and it's not a surprise to me. Just giving back yesterday, that's really sad. Like I said earlier, 2 steps forward, 1.9 steps back. I don't want to enter a short squeeze after it's already gone. I want to try to identify something that is consolidating that could go, or like we just did on KSS, give myself a possible opportunity if it wants to turn back up. I'm guessing right here, but if it wants to turn back up and take out these 2 days, I'll take a chance and just lean on the fact that it's got a giant short float that could make it go again. UAVS, did something like that. It popped up and then came in and then went back up again, even though it doesn't have a huge short float. Okay. Oh, thanks, Net Trade. And I do have to run here. All my stuff's degrading. It's a good thing I've been selling all day and the last hour while I've been talking to you guys. HYMC is my worst one. I've got too much of that. I had too much conviction in that one. Oh, well. All right, guys. Got to run. Thanks for everything. Andy will be in tomorrow. And talk to you next time. Have a good week. See you.